You're witnessing a typical, beautiful, sunny day at Doral Hotel and Country Club in Miami, Florida. Doral is a very special place for many reasons. Yes, it is the home course of Seve Ballesteros and the home court of Arthur Ashe. Yes, it is one of the largest golf and tennis facilities anywhere, as well as home for the Doral Open and location of the famed Blue Monster and its difficult par 4 18th hole. But today we're here for a special reason. We're here to introduce you to Jimmy Ballard, America's premier teaching professional. An entire facility has been developed at Doral just to showcase the Jimmy Ballard Golf Connection, Ballard's revolutionary teaching method. With over 130 touring professionals to his teaching credit, Ballard has been recognized as the leading edge of golf pedagogy in the world today. And it seems only right and fitting that the Jimmy Ballard Golf Workshop be located here at Doral, America's foremost year-round resort. A year before joining Doral and its prestigious staff, Jimmy completed this series of videotapes outlining the system known as the Jimmy Ballard Golf Connection. These were shot during the fall at his former club outside Birmingham, Alabama. Here then, pre-Beard and pre-Doral, is America's foremost golfing instructor, Jimmy Ballard.
Okay, Jeff, set up on that front ball there, please. Just get your belt buckle straight on the camera. All right, go ahead and set in there. Okay, anytime you're ready, go right ahead. Okay, pull up another one, same angle. Okay, pull up another one there for me, and we're going to swing around. Aim a little more to the left. All right, go right ahead. Okay, one more. Okay. All right, go right ahead.
But before anything, they will meet the master golf teacher, Jimmy Ballard, the professional who teaches the professionals.
Hitting a golf ball can be as easy as making an underhanded toss, or, as Hogan described once, he talked about taking a basketball. We like to use the example with a shag bag because it's heavy and it gives you the weight. It's as simple as taking this back, and I wanted to make a tossing motion there. That's the motion that the arms, the body, the legs, everything would make. But the problem is, in golf, we've been taught over the years that you play golf with a nice, straight, stiff left arm with your head down and you turn. And from there, in my opinion, you have no chance to play golf. You couldn't hit a golf ball. You couldn't toss the bag. You couldn't make an underhanded tossing motion. It's not natural. Anytime you get your left arm straight, your head down, or any of the things, the so-called terms in golf that people have used. Now, what I'd like to talk to you about, number one, is what we call the misleading terms. That is, the terms that confuse people, that keep you from having any natural rhythm and coordination, and why they're misleading and how they destroy natural rhythm and coordination. The second thing I'm going to do is talk to you about what we call the 7 common denominators in golf, and that is the basic fundamentals of what every great striker of the ball does. And I think maybe what I better do now is define for you great strikers of the ball. That's not a person that plays real good for 5 years or 6 years on the tour and then you never hear from him again. My opinion of a great striker of the ball is a Snead, a Hogan, a Boris, a Littler, a Miller Barber, a Doug Sanders, guys that have lasted to their 50 years old, to their 60 years old, guys that have lasted, say, more than 25 years. Not a guy that goes out and plays good for 5 years. Ben Hogan's swing and Doug Sanders' swing is alike. Miller Barber's swing and Sam Snead's swing is alike. But to most people, when they look at it, they look at the mannerisms and they don't see what they do that's alike. So that's what we teach, the fundamentals of the golf swing. It can be that simple. But we have to first take out the terms in golf that you've used over the years that are misleading, the things that just keep you from doing the natural things in the golf swing, that keep you from doing the common denominators. So I think what I'd like to do first is I want to show you some of the terms, how they're misused, the misleading terms. The first one I want to talk about is keeping the head down. The idea in the golf swing would be if you were going to make a tossing motion underhanded, if I took this club in one hand and I wanted to toss it in that direction, just say throw it 30 yards, 40 yards out there, the one thing I wouldn't do would be to bury my head down here and try to make a tossing motion. Obviously, if I tried to make a tossing motion with this club, my head would flow with my spine back to the right, and when I throw it, my head and eyes would come up behind the club. It would be a natural rhythm tossing motion. That's what we want in the golf swing. But with the head down, still, you can't do that. There's no way you could do it. What happens in the golf swing is the head should flow with the spine. The head follows the spine. Now, I'm not telling you to take your head and move. I'm simply saying that when you make a tossing motion or try to hit something hard, the spine is going to flow back to the right. When it does, the head follows it, and when you go through it, the head goes with the spine. If I hold it still, I'm continuously working around my head or around my spine. Let's take and talk about 3 different players and how their head works, and yet probably to each of you, when you look at them, they look different, but they do exactly the same thing as far as the head position. Let's take Sam Snead, and we have some pictures we can show you, and we'll be glad to show you as we go along how the head flows. But it would be like if you took a straight line on Snead here with his spine and his head. As he moves, his head rotates with his spine. It rotates a little to the right. He can see the ball out of the corner of his eye, but he is not staying still over the ball. The head simply rotates with his spine to here. When he hits the ball, as he reverses the club and goes into the ball, his head and eyes simply come right up with it. So the head and eyes are going with the spine. Now understand, I didn't say he moved his head. I said his head goes with the spine. We take another player, one of the great strikers of the ball, Jack Nicklaus. The first thing Nicklaus does before he takes the club away, he sits here and he cocks his head to the right. He simply presets his head here, and when he moves, he's in the exact same position that Sam Snead is. The only difference is Snead lets his flow to go there. Jack Nicklaus presets it there and goes there. Now, let's take another player, Ben Hogan. The thing that he did is he started with his chin very high here so that his shoulders were level and they could work under his chin. When he took the club away, what did his spine and his head do? It had a little flowing motion into the right leg, and when he got through it, his head and eyes and body could finish straight and everything came up with it. Ben Hogan didn't play golf holding his head down here, swinging around his head. Jack Nicklaus didn't play golf trying to hold his head here, swinging around his head. They all had a flowing motion to here and to there. The head flows with the spine. Does everyone pretty well understand that? Okay. The second thing in golf is the term straight or stiff left arm. We don't teach a straight or stiff left arm. We teach what we call a connected left arm. And as we talk, the more and more we talk, I'm going to explain connection. It'll be something that we'll talk about continuously. But at this point, I'm going to touch on it. Connection is connecting the left arm to the left shoulder. I think you first have to understand where your left shoulder is. And we find that most people don't know. You can walk up to a person and say, I want you to take the club away with your left shoulder. Where's your left shoulder? Most people will say right there. Well, that's not your left shoulder. That's your left shoulder joint or socket. That's not your shoulder. Your shoulder is this whole pec muscle and this whole lat muscle. Obviously, your right shoulder is the whole pec muscle and this whole lat muscle. So when we say shoulders, we're speaking of swinging the club with the shoulders, not from the shoulder joints with the arms. So as we talk to you, the more and more we talk, we'll talk connection and connection throughout the body. But the idea is this: if you try to play golf with a straight or stiff left arm, you'll never use your shoulder. You just continuously go from the shoulder joint or from the socket. So we're going to talk connection and getting the left shoulder back into the right leg. We may feel it with the right shoulder. There are a lot of ways to feel it. Feel is something that is each individual's own way. I can tell you right now, I've worked with over 100 touring pros. Every one of them feels it different, but we're trying to achieve the same things. And to get the common denominators as we talk about them in a little while, you can't do it with a straight or stiff left arm. We have to maintain connection. So we'll discuss it more in detail later. The third thing or term used that I dislike is the term pull the back of the left hand at the ball or pull the butt of the club at the ball. Number one, you can't pull the back of the left hand and the butt of the club at the ball. It's impossible. Now, if a person interprets the back of the left hand correctly, the back of the left hand being here, and he pulls this way, then I can go along with it. But most of the time, they don't do that. They try to pull the butt of the club at the ball. Well, if you try to pull the butt of the club at the ball, where is the back of your left hand? It's up to the sky. Pulling the back of the left hand to the ball would be there. And when I pull the back of the left hand to the ball, the butt of the club is back in the center of the chest. So therefore, when we talk to you, if you were to say, okay, I'm going to pull the back of the left hand and you pull this way, I'll accept it. But what I can't accept is the butt of the club. So we'll talk a lot about back of the left hand. If you pull the back of the left hand to the ball also correctly this way, what's the right hand going to do? It's going to square up with it. So obviously from there, the club can square up. But if you pull the butt of the club at the ball, the back of the left hand is to the sky, and you're always hitting under, up, and across the ball. There's no way you can square it up. I think a good thing to show you would be this. If you took a golf club, or let's just say you took an axe, and you were going to had a tree here, and you wanted to chop the tree down. There's no way you could chop the tree down pulling the butt of the axe. If you pull the butt of the axe, you'd create such an angle you could never square it up with the club head. Well, it's the same, with the axe head. Well, it's the same thing with the golf club. If you pull the butt of the handle, this will not hit the tree solid. This will not hit the golf ball solid. It's too big an angle. So what we see that happens all the time is a guy, when the club changes direction, there's an appearance of the butt of the club coming. But people don't see that. Once the butt of the club falls in there, the club squares up. People, over the years, with high-speed cameras and stuff, apparently can't see this. So they tell a guy to pull here. Well, when he pulls here, he's created such an angle, the only way he can hit the ball is to create another angle with his body, and we find the guy up there reverse pivoting the rest of his life, always hitting the ball a glancing blow and never hitting it solid or squaring up. So if you want to hit with the back of the left hand, it would be like if I wanted to backhand you, I'd never backhand you coming this way, but I could hit you hard and solid that way. But at the same time, if my right hand was on the club, it would square up. So we say, swing the club head, don't pull the butt of the club. There's no way it can square up. That's the only way the club can square up. The butt of the club would be back to center. Okay? Now, from there, another term used all the time in golf is stay behind the ball. We will tell you, and we can show you, that every great striker of the ball, without any question, is behind the ball when he hits it. But he doesn't try to stay there. The club is traveling well over 100 miles an hour, or that's what you're trying to do, create club head speed. How can you swing the club 100 miles an hour and stay behind it? To get the club head through the ball, you've got to go with it. So therefore, what we teach in golf is that you get behind the ball into your right leg properly, which we'll discuss in more detail in a little bit. And from there, you're moving from behind it, into it, and through it. But you can't purposely try to stay behind it. Anytime a man tries to pull the butt of the club and stay behind the ball, the only thing he can do is hit under and up and across the ball. Now, he can hit under and up and across it with an open blade, or he can hit under and up and across it by flipping the hands over. And I don't know what the difference is, except that if he goes this way, he'll be in the right rough, and if he goes this way, he's in the left rough. But they're both angles, and they're both across the ball. Now, to hit a golf ball properly, you must spin the ball. To spin the ball, you must pinch the ball against the ground. So to do both of those things, you have to be up, hitting down. You have to be moving into it to hit down and through it. You can't stay behind it and hit down. If you stay behind it, you're always hitting under and up. If you move into it, you can hit down and through it. So what we'll always talk to you about is to get into your right side properly and to fire your right side and learn to be up so you can hit down and through it. If you started to toss this club, you wouldn't toss it by pulling the butt and trying to stay back here. If you wanted to toss this club, you would toss it this way, and where would the club go? It'd go right back square, and you would release it to the target. And what happens when I do that is I am up, working down the line of flight. There's no such thing in golf, in my opinion, as moving ahead of the ball. Yet it's a term used all the time, and I think the reason it's used, and that's why people try to stay behind it, they're afraid of moving ahead of it. But if you could picture, if this leaf here was the golf ball, and I put it up on the inside of my left heel, if I moved ahead of the ball, the low point of my arc would be a foot in front of the ball. Obviously, it's an impossibility to move over the top or move ahead of it and hit it. What we find is we see people all the time using the term, but they're always back here hitting it. They're never moving ahead of it. In 21 years of teaching golf, I've never seen anyone move ahead of it. So the cure-all for golf is not to keep from moving ahead of it, to stay back. That's not what we want. We want to teach you to get back, and we want to teach you to move into it and through it. That's the motion we're going to try to get. Again, it's as simple as take this club and toss it underhanded. You wouldn't stay behind it, you wouldn't pull the butt, you'd go with it. Now, another term used in golf is referred to as the inverted C, or the bow. Never in the history of golf has there ever been a great striker of the ball to last past 35 years old that stayed behind it and hit into the inverted C. Every great striker of the ball that's lasted from the age 35 to 65 to 70, let's say a Snead, a Boris, a January, a Littler, when they finish, their hips are level, their shoulders are level, or relatively level. They're never with the right hip tucked under the left and into a bow or the inverted C. Now, there are good players that finish level in the hips with a little bit of an arch, but they never finished bowed or inverted C. Johnny Miller, Jack Nicklaus, you will find pictures of them hitting into a bow in an inverted C. You also, if you'll check the year and check their record, they weren't playing too good. But if you will turn around and check the pictures that you'll find of them finishing level, you'll find when they finished level in the hips, those years they played well. Now, I'm not saying that's the only thing that went wrong with their swing the years they played bad. But I'm simply saying to you, they went bad. Both of them went bad at one point for a year or two or three. Johnny a little longer than the others. That was one of the faults that they had. They finished an inverted C or a bow. But when they played well, they didn't. They finished with their hips level. Johnny Miller was more arched because he's very supple. His hips would finish level, but he had a little arch in his back. But we can show you the pictures of him, and we have them in my book. In 1972, he finished dead level in the hips with a little bit of arch, and he had great years. In 1975, 1976, in the pictures in the book, he's bowed and under here. Look at his records that year. The point I'm making is, if anyone can show me any player over 35 years old that hits into a bow or an inverted C that's a great striker of the ball, I might change my teaching. But until that time, I'm going to maintain what all the great strikers of the ball do, and they finish level in the hips. Now, there's one other term I want to discuss, and that's the term turn. Never in the history of golf, or in my opinion, has anyone ever turned and played golf. Now, they use the term all the time, but first of all, it's physically impossible to turn in a golf swing if you're two-legged. Now, if you're one-legged, you could turn because you'd be working from one joint, one socket, and one hip joint. You can turn from one joint. But when you put both legs down, you now have two sockets and two joints. How do you turn from two sockets or two joints? It's impossible. So what happens is people try to turn, and when they turn, all they do is they turn into the left hip joint, which is a reverse pivot. That would be like me fixing to hit someone over here. If I started to hit them and went this way, I'd be moving toward them to hit them. Where would I go next? I'd go backward. In golf, that's a reverse pivot. You've got to go into your right leg so you can go into your left leg. It's simple weight distribution. It's a simple weight shift. You go to the right to go to the left. The same as I said at the beginning, it's a tossing motion. To toss, you go to the right so you could go to the left. Now, the way we teach it is this. We don't want to reverse pivot. You can't go left. You can't turn. Everyone that turns goes left first. We teach it as this. Years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, I saw an article where Demerit said that Ben Hogan had a lateral sway. And he went on to say, or so the article said, Ben Hogan has a lateral sway, but all great strikers of the ball do. I agree wholeheartedly that Ben Hogan had a lateral motion into his right leg, but it wasn't a sway. And I think this is a time to talk about the difference in what a sway is and what a turn or a twist or reverse pivot is and what we want properly. Now, I don't know what the correct word for moving into your right leg is. I find that word association and the way people relate to it, everybody does it a little different. So I don't have a word, but the move that I want would be as if you had a wall waist high. I want your upper body, your shoulders, and chest to coil up against that wall. A sway would be to go over that wall, to go to the outside of the right foot, to go to the outside of the right leg, to the outside of the right hip. That would be going through the wall or over the wall, and the balance would be over here. That's not what we said. That's not what we want. We want you to coil up against that wall. But a reverse pivot, or what turning causes, is here's the wall. We see people go this way. What did they do? They moved forward, they moved away from the wall. Their next move is back against the wall or back through the wall. So all we're saying is move up against the wall. If you were a tennis player, if you hit a forehand, where would you go? Right against your right leg. You wouldn't go over here, but you also wouldn't stand up and twist in that direction. You'd go right back against your right leg, and then you can make a motion down the line of flight. And the only difference in that, a baseball player, he would get into his right leg where he can move. A tennis player is going to get into his right leg, and a golfer is going to get into his right leg. Or a person tossing a ball underhanded, like Hogan used the example, the shortstop fielding the ball and make the play to the second baseman. But all that would be going into the leg. That's not a sway. We don't want a sway. Okay? So we just want to coil into the right leg so we can move. Now, I think what we do, and what I'm trying to say to you is this. I'm going to talk to you next about what does happen in the golf swing and the proper things that happen in the golf swing, the common denominators. But I want to first just review right quickly where we are. You can't play golf if you hold your head still or down, in my opinion. You can't have a straight or stiff left arm. You can't turn. You can't try to stay behind it. You can't finish in an inverted C or a bow. So all we're saying is if you can forget these terms, from here, you can go forward. You can learn to make the proper moves. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, most pros say you have to stay behind the ball after you hit it. Is that true?
No.
A lot of pros say your head should be behind it.
Right. Now, as we talk in a little bit, you're going to find out that in the golf swing, every great striker of the ball is behind it. But there's no way that a person can make a conscious effort to hold their head behind the ball because they'll actually fall away. And I think that'll be made a little clearer as we talk. But the head goes with it, and you're moving from behind it into it and through it, just like a tossing motion. You would move to the right to be where you could toss, and when you make the tossing motion, you're moving into it and with it. And as I say, I think we'll cover that a little bit more. But no, there is no conscious effort to hold the head back or down ever in the golf swing because it will restrict what the body would do. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about connection. I'm going to touch on connection and position. But I think before we talk about connection, let's talk a little bit about the positioning in the golf swing. We want the right foot always square. The reason for that is that gives you the wall that we're going to coil against. We want the left toe turned out. The purpose in the left toe turned out is that catches the weight when you unwind and go through it to the other side. So there's a very definite reason for everything. Obviously, if both feet were boxed, you'd stand there and twist. The toe turned out is for a balance point, so that you can unwind to your left side. If you toss something, you'd move into it, you'd go with it, you wouldn't stay back and spin. So there's a purpose for everything, and that is basic position. I'm talking basic position for any normal trajectory shot. We very obviously are not talking about special shots. We're not talking about fades. We're not talking about low shots into the wind. We're talking about normal trajectory shots, okay? And these are basics, but it still is a full swing. Whether it be a wedge or whether it be a driver, it's a full swing. Now, that position is with the right foot square, the left toe turned out. We want your inside heel measurements to be shoulder width. There's a very good reason for that. That gives us our foundation for the legs to coordinate and to make the tossing motion. If you stood up with a little narrow stance like this and you tried to throw a ball from here to that golf cart over here, over there, or to the cart path, you couldn't throw it from here. The first thing you'd do automatically is you'd get wide enough to get into your leg where you could make a tossing motion. And you wouldn't do that from a little bitty narrow stance. You'd get here. You also don't want to get wider than shoulder width. You could get so wide that your legs wouldn't work and they couldn't pump. So we found that shoulder width is where we basically want to be, okay? Now, I think I want to add one other thought to this, and that is when we're talking about shoulder width, you hear people a lot of times say the legs don't play any part in the golf swing. And they say the best way to prove that the legs don't play any part in the golf swing is they'll get down on their knees and they'll hit a golf shot from their knees. And they say that proves the legs don't work. Well, all that is short legs. And it's all a matter of measuring to the ball is the trick there, which is very simple. It'll be a matter of connection, which I think you'll understand. But from your knees, it's just short legs. You can pump into the right, you can go to the left. That's all it is. You can't twist, you can't turn, you'd go there. So your legs are just short legs, and that's all it is. So that's where you would do less twisting and less reverse pivoting. From there, you do none. Now, if you want to prove to somebody that there's legs in the golf swing and they tell you hitting off their knees proves that there isn't, or it proves that there's no legs in the swing, tell them if they want to prove it to go sit on a table or a chair or something, and don't let them cheat. Don't let them leave their feet on the ground. If they leave their feet on the ground, they can still toss and they can still pitch and they'll still use their legs. But make them, and I can't sit on this table, make them lift their legs off the ground. Let them lift them completely up, then let them try to hit something or toss something, and then let them tell you there's no legs in the swing. In the golf swing, if I took a coin and I wanted to lag to a line, I would use my legs. If you made an underhanded tossing motion, you use your legs. You're not going to stand still and toss something. You're not going to stand still and toss a coin. So therefore, in a golf swing, I don't think it makes sense that you stand still, hold your head still, and hit a golf ball. Not hit it very far. So the legs, in my opinion, play a very important role. The legs are put into the golf swing when you square the right foot, turn the left toe out, and get your legs shoulder width. Get your feet and legs shoulder width. When you do this, the weight is basically on the inside balls of the feet, inside the knees, inside the thighs. It's a balanced position. You curl your toes up in your shoes, and that puts the weight on the balls of your feet. You don't want it back on your heels, but you also don't want it tilted forward on the toes. It works off the balls of the feet, and then the legs can work like pistons, one against the other. That is the balanced position in the golf swing. If you can stand there and curl your toes up, you're in a position for your feet and legs to pump. They can oppose each other. And that's what we're looking for. Now, from that position, we'll talk about connection. We'll talk a little bit about posture. Posture, and I think the best way to say it, posture being as if a weightlifter's position, from that position. If I walked up and gave you 50 pounds, 75 pounds, and said, I want you to extend your arms, but hold it in front of you, that's where you could hold it from. If I turn around, you can see by doing that, I've extended my arms. They're free from my body. They're in front of my body. But I'm holding it with my lat muscles. I'm holding it with my chest muscles. That's natural. You can't hold something heavy this way. You can't hold something heavy if you take the center of your chest, you bend at the waist and bend down here. You can't hold anything heavy. That's not an athletic position. And not only that, it throws all your weight forward to your toes. We want your legs under you. weight on the inside balls of your feet, as we said, and now I can hold something heavy. I can hold it out here in front of me for a while, and I'm holding it with my big muscles, with the shoulders. I also could take this and toss it to you. From this position, how hard could I toss something to you? Just with my arms. I've got to have it where I can use the big muscles, the legs, the shoulders, the whole body. You can't do it from here. So therefore, we'll talk posture all the time to you. We'll talk just good, natural, strong position, an athletic position that any athlete would be in. And you don't walk up to hit a golf ball and go here. I've never seen a player do it. They're here. That's what we term the weightlifter's position or the connected position. Now, when we talk about connection, we'll talk about the left arm connection. I think one of the best ways to say it would be this. Hogan, I understand, hit golf balls by placing a handkerchief under his left arm, and he would hit balls and never drop the handkerchief. I think that's an excellent way to do it. I describe the same thing in a little different manner. I say it's as if you had a plug on your left arm, and right by your left breast, you had a socket. You would plug it in, and it never comes unplugged. Throughout the golf swing, it would never come unplugged. That would be how you would be plugged in. They talk about the pronate, supinate in the golf swing. I think it was very misunderstood by a lot of people. If I plug it in and I go back, the club would go inside. The club would even give the appearance as it went away of a pronate. But all I did was just let my shoulders go. But what I saw people do when they started trying to pronate and supinate was they would sit there, roll their arms, and their shoulders, the center of their chest, never moved. So they rolled their arms around their body, and then they rolled it back here and hit snipe hooks. But that's not what pronate supinate is. It's plugged in, as Hogan said, like the handkerchief under the arm. It all goes together. Now my arms didn't roll. Now I can go to the finish, nothing changed. So it's plugged in, and it never comes unplugged. You can't go here, you unplug. We say to ladies a lot of times because of the bus line. You can't swing, the question is asked to us all the time. What do women do different in the golf swing? They have to do something. What do they do for the bus line? Do they swing across the bus line? Do they swing around the bus line? Well, you don't. You take the bus line with you. That's what connection is. That's where your shoulders would still be moving. This, the chest, everything moves with it. It can move back. You never let the arms cross the chest, male or female. You never let the arms work around the chest, male or female. You always want your shoulders, which is part of your chest, to go with you in the golf swing. You would do it if I gave you the shag bag drill. I gave you this and said, let's play pitch. There's no one in here that would go this way. There's no one here that would go this way. You would go here, and you would go there. And you'd be doing it with your shoulders, with all the big muscles. I don't mean that you lead with your shoulders. Everyone's field is different. Everybody has a different way of feeling things. You might feel that your hands and arms pull your shoulders. You might feel that the center of your chest drives your shoulders. You might feel that your left foot, left knee, left hip drives your shoulders back. Some people might feel their right shoulder pulls their left shoulder back. Everyone can feel it different. But what happens is every player does it the same. It's the same fundamental move. Doug Sanders, to people, had a short backswing. In my opinion, he had one of the greatest golf swings I've ever seen. Doug Sanders would set it up here, and when he moved back, his shoulders went with it. Everything went to here. Doug Sanders never tried to play golf this way. Doug Sanders had a tremendous arc. When he went here, from the center of his chest to the end of that club was a big arc. From there, he could hit it awfully hard because he used his whole body. He used his shoulders. He used his legs. He used everything. Doug Sanders didn't go this way. So therefore, he didn't have a short swing. A lot of times people think that this makes a big arc, but that's a short arc. This is a big arc. That's when my shoulders and the relationship from here to the end of that club is a big arc. If I go here, I've got extended arms, but a short arc, a short radius. I now have short arms, but a big radius. It's the same thing on the follow-through. When I go through the ball and my arms fold on my body here, as they should, I've got a big arc. If I go here, I have nice extended arms, but a very short arc. We want the big arc, which means the arms are connected where they start, and they never change, just like the tossing of the basketball. Now, we can talk about right arm connection. The right arm connection is wherever the right arm starts, it never changes. By that, I'm saying if I set up here, the right arm, and I think we can, again, let's use two, maybe I guess you could say extremes. There are a lot of people who thought that Hogan had a very short swing, a very, what they termed a flat swing, I heard termed a lot. Hogan was never flat. And yet you hear people say that Jack Nicklaus was very upright. When Jack played bad, he did get a little too upright, in my opinion. But when he played good, which has been almost every year, he never got too upright, and he was connected. Now, there's a period of time there that Jack played bad, but he did get what we call a runoff and a disconnection. And the pictures indicate it to me. But that was just a short time. He found it, and he came back, and he said, I got the club back lower, or he said, I got it flatter. But what he did is he got it back down, connected again, in my opinion. Connection of the right arm, though, is the important part, and I think these two players reflect the same thing, but they look entirely different. And that is this. When Hogan set up to the golf ball, he talked a lot about the elbows being turned in. But if you turn your elbows in, you find the first thing that happens is your pecs and your lats tighten. To me, that's connection. But you turn right around, and Hogan played golf, and he said both elbows point to the outside hip bones, which is where he played from. And he had probably the greatest golf swing, or as good as has ever been, if not the best. But from there, when he took the club away, you can see how the right arm never changed. He set it right to the outside hip bone, and when he took it away, his right arm went right there. His shoulder and everything went with it. That set his hands head high to shoulder high. So it was not a very upright swing, but it also was not flat. The club was in perfect plane there, and he never set the club here. That would have been flat. Hogan never took the club and laid it off and set it flat. He was always in perfect plane. He was just a little lower, a little more connected. But that had to do with his right arm. Now, if you take Nicklaus, or let's take Miller Barber, who's even another extreme in the other direction, they both set their right arm out. But when they set their right arm out and they take it back, their right elbow's always down. So Jack Nicklaus, with his right arm more out instead of to the hip bone, was out here. But when he took it away, his arms went away. His hands got above his head, but his elbow was down. So it was never a flying right arm, and it was always connected. It's just that instead of starting here, as Hogan did, he started there, and it went a little higher. It just created a little higher plane and just a little different plane. But he was always connected. He never went this way. That would be disconnection. That's the right arm running off from the shoulder. But the surest way in golf to have a flying right elbow is to tuck your elbow in. And I imagine most of you feel like that Miller Barber, looking at him, has a flying right arm as an example. But yet Miller sets the arm here, and when he goes away, it goes down. And I have pictures, and we showed it in my book, where Miller Barber's right arm at the top is exactly like Snead's, it's exactly like Boris's, it's exactly like Nicklaus's. It does not go like this. Miller Barber's arm is here. But if you set it in, the first thing that will happen to you is you tuck it in is you'll roll it and get it flat, generally speaking. And as soon as you're flat, you know, automatically, if you have any coordination at all, you say, hey, I can't hit it from there. That's weak. So what's the first thing you do? You go up. And where does the elbow go? It flies. And then what's the cure-all? Hey, you got a flying right arm. You got to tuck it in. So you tuck it in a little tighter, you roll it a little bit more, and you go up a little bit more, and you break plane twice. That's not the answer. If you turn it out, it'll go down. If you turn it in, you'll either be a very weak player and won't be able to hit it across the room, or you'll fly the elbow. It's one of the two. You have no choice. So therefore, when we talk connection, the basic position would be, we'd like to see the left arm extended, free in front of the body. We don't mean slapped in here tight and tied down. We want it free. We want it extended, but freedom. The left elbow is down. But with it down, it's still pointing to the outside hip bone. We want the right arm to come on just like you're shaking hands, and the right elbow would be the outside hip bone, or even a little further out. But we never want it turned in. From the elbow, from the outside hip bone to even further out with the right, and then wherever it starts, that sets your triangle, and that whole triangle coils behind the ball against the set of the right leg. That's the motion we want. That's connection. We never go here, or here, or here. It's simply wherever it's set, it goes here. Doug Sanders was there. Miller Barber starts with both of them turned out a little bit. It's a little bit of an unorthodox way, but it's great, and it certainly works for him. He sets them both out like this, and then when he takes it away, everything goes there. His elbow works down, and it goes there. And it's the same that everyone else does. Now, another term in golf excuse me, another thing I want to talk about in golf is the grip from this position. The grip being the fact that all we want in the golf swing in relation to the grip is that your hands be in a clapping position. We don't want the palms down or the palms up. It's just like you clap your hands, just square. Okay? From the clapping position, we grip the club. Now, I don't care if it's the interlocking, the overlapping, I don't care what grip it is, as long as the hands are square in a clapping position. That's what we feel is important. As far as grip pressure, I think that's very, very important. An example we use would be to grip the club here, laying it under the pad here and across. Underneath the pad here and just hooked right in on the finger right here. If you take that club, take it and pull it. If you just pull the club, it creates its own force. You never have to squeeze the club or anything. Okay? As far as a right hand grip, it's right in the pad here, right there. Okay? So they're just underneath the pad, right in the two middle fingers here, and that's all there is to it. Then the hands are just in a clap position, but if there's pressure, it's right here, and there's no pressure at all in the squeezing of the back three fingers. We don't agree with that. I think if you squeeze with the back three fingers, all you do is pull.
Jimmy, on the grip, what about the knuckles and V's?
I don't think it plays any part in the golf swing. The knuckles and the V's would only, like if I sit up and somebody said, okay, both V's should be at your right shoulder, okay? I'd have to lower my hands and do that. You follow me? So people, I think the V's are related to how high the hands are. The knuckles are related. I could set my hands here. I could take the same grip here, set my hands here and see no knuckles, and I could lower my hands a little and see two. So I think that makes no difference. We want it in a clap hand position, just square. Don't worry about the knuckles V. Just feel like the palms would be facing each other and you put your fingers around it. I don't care if you did it 10-fingered, overlapping, interlocking. It doesn't make any difference to me as long as your hands are in the square position. So that's basically where connection is. From that position in our brace connected address, the right foot square, left toe out, weight slightly on the inside balls of the feet, the knees slightly knock-kneed, and then feeling the connection as if you're shaking hands with it here. You would form, the way we like to describe it, you can call it a V, you can call it a triangle, whatever. The two sides, the two shoulder joints in relation to the hands would form a triangle or a V. If you took the club and ran it through the center of your chest, that would be a good way just to feel it, to understand what we're saying. So with this triangle, you're now in a brace connected address position. From there, the thing that happens with every great striker of the ball is this triangle all goes away together and coils against the set of the right leg into the inside hip joint. Every great striker of the ball at waist high would still have the triangle or the V. All we're saying is if you ran it through, this is a little drill that's good. It's clubbed through the center of your chest. At waist high, you're already behind the ball. You can see if the ball were here. At waist high, I'd already be behind the ball. If I had the club, you can see where I'd be. The triangle is still intact at waist high. Then from here, the right side of the triangle, which is the right arm, folds. Now it folds within a triangular shape. It's like the right side folds to get the right arm in a strong throwing or hitting position. I don't mean that it collapses, but it also doesn't go this way straight out. You couldn't get back to the ball. So how the club falls in is the triangle is at waist high and the right side folds. And we use a little checkpoint just as a feeling. We feel like the thumbs are pointing toward the right ear. The thumbs are under the shaft. It's a feeling that the toe of the club would be down. But all of that feeling is the triangle and the right side of the triangle folds. That's how when Miller Barber starts here, as he goes up, as the club falls in and goes against the set of the right leg, it falls in with the thumbs under the shaft in that manner there. That is the position that you could throw something from. It's a position you would hit something from. A tennis player would get there to hit something. You wouldn't get it down flat. You wouldn't get it up here to throw it. It's just a natural, strong position of the right arm and shoulder where you can make a tossing motion. So, the golf swing is simple. It gets back to take the triangle, call it behind the ball against the set of the right leg. This whole triangle goes away together. This is extension. From the center of my chest to the butt of that club, that's a big arc. Now, Johnny Miller at one time felt that he set an early angle. Johnny didn't set the early angle when he played well, and he doesn't set it now, and he's playing well again. But it was a feeling, and it's something that anyone could experience, but you can take the old pictures of him, and he never set an early angle. And the reason is, if he had set the early angle and cocked his hands quick and set the angle here, do you see what a short radius I would have from the center of my chest to the club? That is not a big radius. That is not a big arc. That's an extended arm, nice, full, extended left arm, but where is my arc? It's very short. Now, Doug Sanders, when he went here, had a very big arc, yet people thought he had a short swing. So what we're saying is you can take all the great strikers of the ball, when they're playing well and at waist high, they're extended this way with a big arc. None of them set the early angle. But sometimes you could feel it because from there, as the right arm folds, the club goes up and it falls in, and therefore you feel like it's setting an early angle. Now, the way the club falls in, the hands fall into, with the thumbs toward the ear, a cocked position. But they don't cock it. There's a difference. The great strikers of the ball let the folding of the right arm and the thumbs toward the ear set the club in a cocked position. The best way I know how to describe that to you is if you wanted to take this club and make a tossing motion, your hand would fall in a cocked position for you to be able to make the tossing motion. But you wouldn't cock it to throw it. No one here would try to cock it to throw it. You would let it flow and it would fall into a cocked position. So that's the position at the top. Now this is something that people sometimes don't relate to or don't understand. This is a hard part of the golf swing because it's something that has to happen. It's something you can't create. And that is the position at the top where the club falls in. The proper position, the proper wrist cock, if you want to term it so, is all created because of the change of direction of the legs. The best way I know how to describe that to you, if I wanted to make a tossing motion, if I took this golf club and started to throw it, what would be the first thing that would set my arm when I tried to throw it? You see my leg reverse? It would be my right foot, right knee. When I get here, my right leg would reverse. That sets the club. What we're saying is the completion of the backswing is the change of direction. And as I say again, if you wanted to hit a tennis ball, when you got here, what would set the racket? You wouldn't hit a tennis ball by changing direction by pulling. You wouldn't toss a ball, as they referred to the shortstop making the play to the second baseman. You wouldn't do that by changing direction with your arm. You change direction with your legs. That's what would change it. Not with your arm, but with your leg. That creates the fall in the proper position at the top. Now, that's where the firing of the right side comes in. While this is going back, there's actually a feeling of my right foot, my right knee, my right hip, all driving toward the ball and even past the ball. Now, I would never take my right foot and my right knee to make a tossing motion and drive it to my left. That would be a slide. I drive it toward the ball. And when I did that, the club would fall in, change direction, and come back down the line. In the tossing motion, that's the firing of the right side. It coils and it kicks. That's the only way it can change. Another way of saying the same thing would be if we took a fly rod. While all this is going back, something has to start it down. You don't start it down by cocking your wrist. You don't start it down by pulling the butt of the fly rod. What happens is while this is going back, the right foot, the leg would reverse, it would fall in, and it would all catch up. Now, it's a similar thing here. While this is going back, this reverses, the club would fall in, and it all catches up, and it all pulls together. We never change directions going this way. So the whole idea of everything is it goes into the right leg, and the right leg changes direction, it all pulls back together. It's nothing in the world, and it's as simple as a tossing motion, unless you try to do it. But people a lot of times say, well, you feel like the hips slide. I can't get to the top and slide my hips and throw anything. I couldn't throw this club. I couldn't get to the top to hit a forehand in tennis and slide my hips. There are teachers that advocate that when you get to the top, you take your left knee and lead there. Well, how hard could I throw this club if I led with my left knee? Yet, if I kicked with my right leg, there's an unwinding to my left leg, and my left knee would do that. It would be a natural unwinding, but you wouldn't go there to do it. My opinion is you cannot reverse the club any way except with the kick of the right foot, right knee. The same as a tossing motion, the same as a hitting motion, and it's always driving toward the ball. You can't reverse with your hips. If you could figure this, if I was standing here, and it's like a railroad track, my feet and legs were on one rail of a railroad track, we'll say the inner rail. The ball in the line of flight is the outer rail. If I got back perfectly into my right leg and then slide my hips down the line or the rail I'm standing on, what would the club do? It would pull across the outer rail. That's across the ball. What would happen if my right knee drove to my left knee? I'd slide, I'd be creating an angle across the outer rail. To go down that outer rail, your right foot, right knee must kick. Now the club can go right down the line of flight or right down the outer rail. That is tossing the club head, never pulling it. Could you imagine the shortstop making a play to the second baseman by fielding the ball and dropping down here to throw it? He wouldn't think about it. He would feel the ball go into his leg, and his leg would reverse his arm and make a natural motion. There's not a person here that wouldn't toss a ball correctly underhanded. And to do it, none of you would take the right knee to the left, none of you would slide the hips. You would have a kick or a push for the right foot, right knee, letting everything go to the target. So if you do that, if you can reverse the club with the legs, and this is something that, to do it, we'll have to find your own individual feel. I'm telling you what happens, not what you necessarily will feel right now. But if we can take this triangle, call it behind the ball against the set of the right leg, then it's like winding a spring. The leg can recoil, and when it does, the club will pull right back in here square. It's simple centrifugal force. If I held the club in the thumbs and forefingers this way and did that, it pulls right back together. The triangle's back intact here at the bottom of the ball, back at impact. At waist high over here, you would still have the triangle. You never want an angle. There's no way to hit it with the angle. If I slide, I create an angle and I'm across it. If I hang back, I'm creating an angle and pulling across it. But if I let everything go with the right foot, right knee, and the whole right side fire in a tossing motion, that whole triangle will be intact right there. That's what we're after. Waist high over here, you should have the triangle. And if you have the triangle at waist high here, the left side of the triangle, the left arm folds with the elbows down, and you've got a straight, balanced finish. But if you create the angles coming here, the body's backing out, and you have angles all the way through it. Now, when we talk about a straight, balanced finish, we're talking of release. As we go along, we'll talk a lot more about release in the next few days. But the idea of releasing the club has nothing to do with the club, really. What a release is a release of the whole right side and the body. That's what a release is. I think a good example would be a baseball pitcher. If he threw the ball from here, what would change directions? The first thing that would change the direction is his leg. But if you took a high-speed camera and you stopped it in action, you might find a great pitcher like a Jim Palmer or whoever it might be. You might find his right arm in this position. But if you tried to create that position, you couldn't throw it to that cart path, which is only 15 yards away. You probably couldn't throw it off this tee if you tried to create that position. Yet, if we if you took that guy when he winds up and when he reverses, there's a fall in, it falls into that position. But you can't create it. It's got to be a flowing motion at 100 miles an hour. It's got to have the forces in it. So therefore, when this leg kicks and when we release, we want the body, the whole right side is moving as fast as you can to get to there. And the elbows are always folding and feel like they're down. That way, I am now extended through the ball. If I went here, I would have an extended arm, but a short arc. If I went this way, I'd be right across it. Both of them are forms of disconnection. But if my left arm lays here and it folds with the elbow down, I've got a big arc from here to there. I've got full extension down the line of flight. You're hitting down and through the ball. This is hitting under and up. At this point, the only thing I want to discuss in the release right now is to say that in the golf swing, the right forearm never crosses under the left and leaves a gap. The right forearm never crosses over the left and flips the ball to the left. We maintain the triangle. The butt of the club would be in the center of the body. We would have the triangle. I never crossed under. I never crossed over. I simply released the whole triangle the whole right side and the body, and it folds, and that's where you get the straight balanced finish. Okay? I think that pretty well covers the common denominators at this stage. We'll talk more about it as we get into releasing and get into some things. Our review would be of the common denominators would be with the brace connected address, you have the triangle, number one, at address. Now this triangle, the butt of the club, can be, we want the ball basically off the inside the left heel. So the butt of the club would be about the center of the chest. The ball could be slightly forward of the left heel. The butt of the club could move to the left breast, depending on where the ball is. If the ball was really off the left heel, it'd probably be the left breast. If we put the ball kind of off the left ear, and maybe with a 8-iron, 7-iron, it might be the left ear instead of the heel. The butt of the club would be about the center of the chest. As it goes back, the butt of the club would still be in the center of the chest, at waist high. As the right arm folds and the club falls in, obviously the butt of the club would get out of center for a moment. It'd be out of the center of the chest. But when the right leg kicks and the club falls back in, there is a change of direction that appears to a lot of people of a pull down. But it's where the club changes directions, but as the club gets into the impact area, the butt of the club is always right back intact to the center of the chest, which is a triangle, back intact. And at waist high here, the butt of the club is always in center. It's never crossed over, which would be out of center, creating an angle. It's never crossed under, which is out of center, creating the angle. It's always in the center, and then the center releases, and the whole body is straight, balanced, facing the target. Okay, so we're saying 1 is a triangle, 2 is a triangle at waist high, 3 would be the triangle falling in, the thumbs toward the ear, 4 would be the right foot, right side reversing, 5 would be the triangle back intact, 6 would be the triangle at waist high, and 7 would be the straight balanced finish with the elbows down. And that's the 7 common denominators.
In this lesson, Jimmy Ballard is going to explain how to apply the Jimmy Ballard golf connection and the 7 common denominators to your total game from tee to green. He will discuss everything from driving to putting to chipping, as well as dealing with problem shots. Jimmy Ballard is director of golf at the internationally acclaimed resort, the Doral Hotel and Country Club in Miami, Florida. It is the home of the Blue Monster and its famed par 4 18th hole. Just one of 4 great 18-hole courses at Doral. It is also the location of the Jimmy Ballard Workshop. In this clinic, which was taped before Jimmy joined Doral and before his now familiar beard, with the aid of teaching professional Jim Grant, Ballard takes you with connection from tee to green.
What we're going to do today is discuss how connection applies in all golf shots, fades, hooks, normal trajectory shots, or whatever. My assistant Jim Grant is going to hit some shots. We're going to illustrate some things to you as we go along. We're going to talk about the triangle, show you how it applies, how it works. We're going to talk about balance points. We're going to talk about fades, hooks, a lot of different shots, but how always we maintain connection. So Jim, if you'll hit a few shots for us, we're going to start out hitting a few wedges. The first thing I want to show you, if Jim will put another ball down, and I want you to not notice it in the swing, take the club back, and we're talking about balance points. Okay, the balance point is behind the ball. In a wedge shot, it's not going to be as deep as in a driver or in a 4-iron or something, but it is back of the ball. He's not hanging over the ball in this manner, trying to stay on top of it or in front. We do get behind the ball. We do get into the set of the leg. Now hit one for us, Jim. Okay, hit one more. And what we're trying to show you is I want you to watch how he coils into the set of the right leg and his balance is 2-3 inches behind the ball on the shorter shot. Okay, now let's go hit a little longer club. Let's hit a 7-iron. And we'll show you how the balance point gets a little deeper here. Ball's off the inside of the left heel. Good. Take it back one more time and stop for us. Notice how he's loaded in the leg. Balance point being where center is, it's here. Now, bad balance point over the wall would be here. His balance would be over the wall. So we're talking about balance right in behind the ball. One more 7-iron, Jim, and then let's hit a couple of longer shots. Okay. Let's go ahead and hit some drivers. I want Okay. Again, and stop, and let's show them where the balance point and what we're trying to achieve. If you'll notice here, the balance point, just as the club gets longer, the balance point gets a little deeper, but it's always against the set of the leg.
Take it back.
Yeah, take it back and stop for us and just get the balance point. Here we are. The balance point's a little deeper here now. It's probably maybe 10 inches behind the ball here. But that's where he's trying to go. Now from there he can go down the line of flight. Okay, very good. Now, just one time, Jim, let's show the right way and the wrong way. Let's show hanging over the ball or trying to stay over the ball, just in a practice swing. Just take it back. Now, if you can see from there with the weights on the left leg, from there, that's what we would term as a reverse pivot. Show him what the next move would be. He would back up, go out, and you can see where the left side would spin out, and he would block across the ball, or he could flip his hands over and hit a duck hook. But both would be wrong, both would be angles. Now, show them what too far over the wall would be. And this would apply with a driver, with a 7-iron, no matter what it is. That's the upper body pulling the leg. There's no coiling. Now let's show them the correct way one more time of just coiling behind it. Do it in a practice swing. Now hit us one and go there. Okay, good. Now let's talk about something else in the golf swing. People are always asking us, what's the difference in a wedge? What's the difference in a 7-iron? What's the difference in a 4-iron? What's the difference in the driver as far as the way we swing the club? There is no difference. What we want to show you is what we term measuring to the ball. And that is, you still have the triangle. A full shot is a full shot. By that I'm saying, wherever the arms are, if they're extended, which we've talked about earlier in connection being extended from the last and from the shoulders, you've got the triangle. From there, the hands and arms and body on all full shots do the same thing. By that, let's just take the medicine ball action. If I took a medicine ball in my hand or took the shag bag and I wanted to toss it hard, I'd just toss it hard. So to do that, my arms are extended, I'd coil into my right leg, and I'd move to the left side. I wouldn't get my arms longer, I wouldn't do anything any different. Throwing it as hard as I can or hitting a golf ball on a full shot is hard, so that's it. We never reach. We just simply maintain connection. Now, the difference is, Jim, let's show a wedge number one. Let me hold the driver for you. Notice his arms are extended here. He has his arms out in front of his body. He has a triangle. His posture is the same. But the railroad tracks, the lines of flight, the outer rail being the line of flight, the inner rail being the line that his body's on, would be closer together. The rails would just simply be closer. If he takes a driver and we tee the ball up here, now the rails are wider, but his arms, his body, everything is in the same relationship that it was with a wedge. The only difference is the shaft is longer, creating a larger arc. But from here, that's the only difference. He does not reach any further because it's a driver. He doesn't get his arms closer because it's a wedge or anything. His arms are always extended, and the length of the shaft determines the width of the rail or how big the arc is. Okay? Now, in measuring to the ball, people say, well, do you hit down on a wood? You hit down, you're always talking about being level or hitting down and through a golf ball. Let me explain. To hit a golf ball, to spin a golf ball, obviously you hit down and through it. Obviously what you're doing in doing that is you're trapping the ball or pinching the ball against the ground. Now, with an iron, if Jim will take the iron here, let me hold the wood again, we'll lay the ball on the ground. When he traps the ball or pinches the ball against the ground, that implies backspin. That makes the ball spin. But each time, what we're talking about is measuring to the ball. He is measuring, as we talked about in short shots and everything, he's measuring to the very bottom of the ball. If his arms from here don't pull up, if he pulled up, he would hit the ball on the upswing and hit the top of the ball. If his arms got longer here, he would hit behind the ball and hit the ball fat. But if he keeps his arms the same distance right here that it starts, it will come right back in and hit the bottom of the ball here and go right down the line, which would pinch the ball against the ground. Now if we put the ball up in the air on the peg, it would be more of a sweeping sensation, but yet he doesn't sweep the ball. But with this now, with the ball up off the ground, obviously, if he makes the same swing, but by measuring to the bottom of the ball, as the club comes through, it'll drive the ball forward, but it will not pinch the ball against the ground. So it's not as descending a blow because the ball is not on the ground. The ball is now up in the air. But he is still measuring to the bottom of the ball, not the top of the ball, not the middle of the ball. It's to the bottom, but he's not going to pinch the ball against the ground. It will not trap the ball. Yeah, hit one, Jim. But he's still measuring to the bottom of the ball, so each time the low point of his arc, if it were on the ground, the low point of his arc is at the bottom of the ball. If the ball is up in the air, if it were teed up this high, the low point of his arc is still the bottom of the ball. The only difference is with it on the ground, it traps it and spins it. With it up in the air, it's like sweeping it off of there. Okay? But it's all in wherever he sets his arms, they never get longer, they never get shorter. And that's very, very important. When we tee the ball up, go ahead and tee it. A lot of people ask, how high do you tee a ball? And I think everybody, some people tee it higher than others, but we like to recommend as a standard, go ahead and set it in. We like to recommend that the ball be teed to where the top edge of the driver would be at the middle of the ball. I think that's the best way to set it in there. Okay? Okay, now, from measuring to the ball, let's get into some special shots. Let's first talk about the normal trajectory shot, and we've discussed this before, that the ball is on the inside of the left heel. We're talking here, we have to talk basics. We can't try to complicate it. We don't want to try to complicate it. But with the ball, Jim, just with a 7-iron, the ball is still basically up on the inside of the left heel. Now, if we want to hit that ball up in the air from there, obviously what's going to happen, as we talked about in balance points, his balance point will be behind the ball. He'll be deep to where he can move into it. Now, show the ball back, and obviously this is the way we would hit the ball down. If we had a 35, 40 mile an hour wind, we want to hit the ball low. We even exaggerate a little more, Jim, put it back. Now, from there, he obviously can't get behind the ball because of the position of the ball, so it won't go as high because the ball is back here. He's going to get on top of the ball a lot more. Hit one that way. And that's the way we hit the ball under the wind. That's one way to do it. It's the simplest way to do it. If the ball is forward, you get behind it, you'd be coming from behind it into it. If the ball is back, you can't get as deep behind it, you'd be hitting on top of it more, driving the ball lower. Now, as far as a fade, all we recommend is that he's set open in his left foot, left hip, even in the left shoulder a little bit. By setting open, it's the same thing as we talk about. It's what we call pre-setting. Square, he can release his arms down the line. Once he sets open, he's pre-setting what we call a block, which from there, because he's open here, the club will go back a little more outside the line, and he doesn't change anything. This is very important. He releases through the ball, but when he releases, he's across the ball a little because he preset his body slightly open, and it presets a block. What we don't want is for him to pull or drag block it. But you can't govern this. You don't know how much you'll pull across the ball if you're trying to slide across the ball to cut the ball. We preset the amount, and then we maintain connection and let it go. Hit us a fade. But everything is preset, exactly how much we maintain connection. Okay? Now, when you do this, when you preset, the one thing you have to do is fire your right side. I think Lee Trevino is a perfect example of a player who sets very open, but he goes so hard after it with his right side, he can go right down the line of flight, but because he's preset open, it's slightly across. That's what we want to do. Now, if you were to preset and hang back, you hit pull hooks all day long. You must go on and fire your right side when you preset open. To hook the ball, we set close. We set the body close. We set everything close. This will make the club go a little more on the inside line, and it'll come a little more from inside out, and we can turn the ball over right to left. But he sets everything close. But if you notice in both of them, wherever he sets his left arm, whether it be open to fade, square to knock it straight away, or he sets here and the club goes more inside and he releases it a little quicker, he can hold center back just a little to hook it if he wants to hit the big hook. But we're not really talking slices and hooks. We're basically saying fades and draws. That's what we're trying to talk about here. Side heel lies, downhill lies, uphill lies. When we hit these shots, it's all a matter of measuring. If the ball is below our feet when we set in, then obviously we maintain the same level, but we get to it in the legs to get it on a downhill lie. If it's an uphill lie, then everything is up here. Say if I was on a bank and the bank was up above me, I would get the club up to here. And when the bank is up here, then I've measured to it as long as my arms do not get longer or don't get shorter, just maintaining connection for it here, or maintain connection if it's below. Wherever we start, if it never changes, we're always measuring to the bottom of the ball. Okay? Now we want to talk a little bit about the firing of the right side and the way it works. And Jeff, if you bring that card in here, I think we can illustrate something. Okay. We talk about the firing of the right side in golf, and I think it's probably one of the most valuable things you can do. There's no way, in my opinion, you can hit a golf ball without firing the right side. But also, to fire the right side, you have to be in position to fire it. Always remember that. But we use the example that the arms here set up on a cart seat, and we do this as a teaching aid with the cart seat set up on the inside of the left thigh or off the inside of the left heel. If I wanted to hit that cart seat solid and square, my right hip would stay level. My right side would stay level. I would be what we call being up to hit down. You would never try to hit this cart seat by falling back or staying behind the ball. If you did, you'd hit that cart seat a glancing blow. And if you hit that cart seat a glancing blow with your body hanging back, trying to stay behind it, you see the weight would be on your right side and you'd be hitting across that line of flight. We want you to square up to that cart seat, and if I hit it there, I would go right on down the line. My right side would be up and level, never under. At the same time, Jeff, you want to move this? At the same time, we want to talk about, with the right hip being level or up to square up, the line of flight. Your feet and legs is on one rail of a railroad track. The ball in the line of flight is the outer rail. In doing that, can you see how the right foot, the right knee would go down that outer rail? That's the only way the right hip could stay up. That's moving into it. That's the tossing motion. There's no way, if your right knee goes behind the ball, where does my right hip go? It goes under. So we want the right knee to drive toward the ball, moving into it and past it on this rail. I think a real good example of that would be a player you've all seen. I don't think a lot of people understand what he does. When Gary Player won the 3 tournaments in a row here a few years ago, if you noticed, not only that to those 3 tournaments, but many tournaments that he's won, when he hits the golf shot, have you ever noticed how he walks? He's always walking forward. That, to me, is the sure sign of how good his right side goes there. I'm not advocating that everyone walk, but I had a lot rather see a person walk and have their balance going down that outer rail toward the target than to see a man falling away this way back to his right side and spinning out. Okay? We can control the speed of the golf swing through the feet and legs. When you see a Snead, a Boris, a Littler hit a golf shot, you hear people say all the time how fluid they are, how smooth they are, how much rhythm they have. And you even hear people make such a statement as a Snead or Boris or Littler hitting a driver. They hit the driver 270 yards and the guy says, boy, he hits at it easy. Well, let's be realistic. You don't hit it 270, 80, or 90 yards hitting at it easy. What you're experiencing is the coordinated move of the whole body, smooth rhythm motion. That comes from the coordination coming out of the ground with the feet and legs as a tossing motion. I think the best example is I could be very fluid and toss this club gently, but I'm controlling that speed from the ground up. It's a kick of the right foot, the right knee, the right side. It's the tossing motion. I can throw it gently. But also, if I want to toss this club real hard, I can get in here and move it fast. But I didn't hit any harder with my arm. That would not appear to be rhythm. It would not appear to be coordination. I moved it hard and fast with my feet and legs. I can toss it gently, still stay up and level, or I can toss it very aggressively and still stay up and level. It's all controlled from the feet and legs up through the center of the body. It's like the rock on the string. The faster I move this, the harder I can throw it, but that's controlled with my feet and legs. I'm in control. I can hit it hard or I can low phone it and hit it easy. One other thing, talking about firing the right side. From this angle, can you see, with the line of flight here, we talk about the right side firing down the outer rail as if you were walking. In doing that, the hands and arms are in front of the body, and they're always in front of the body going down that rail. If my body stayed back in this manner, where would my hands and arms go? They would either release around left and disappear around my body, or I could block it and they would still pull across the line and be around my body. A block position is across the ball and around the body. A flip of the hands and arms or an arm rotation is just a flip across the line of flight. I want my hands and arms to stay here and go out in front of me and stay down the line of flight in this manner. When we do that, you're always maintaining pressure in the shaft. By that, we're saying there always is a kick or pressure in the shaft. If we hang back, there's no kick out of this shaft. There's no springing motion to spring the ball forward. You're just pulling across it, or you may flip your hands, but there's no pressure, you've lost it. From here, there's pressure in the shaft throughout the swing.
All right, now we're going to talk about putting with connection and releasing a putt. We've done it with the chip shots in the bunkers and the big swing. And the first thing we want to do in putting, we find, is to clear up what is straight back in a putting stroke. And so many times you'll see a person, and we'll relate to the railroad tracks that Jimmy used in chipping and in bunkers, that this is the line of flight on a straight putt, this is my outer rail, and this is the rail my feet are on. Many times people will take the putter and they'll try to swing it straight back along this shaft. Well, in an effort to take it straight back, the putter gets in a shut position, and from there it comes into a blocked position down the line. And the reason that we feel that, everything related from center, the center of the chest. If I stand up on this line and run the putter through the center of my chest, if there's a slight movement of my shoulders, the putter travels slightly inside the line, and then I can release down the target line. Now what we're saying from here, that the putter, with a slight movement of the shoulders, the putter slightly inside the line, and I can release down the target line. And I'm using my index finger to show where the target would be here as versus going this way. And to clear it up now, we didn't say roll the hands back inside the line or pull the putter back inside the line. There's a slight movement of the shoulders, and the putter will work slightly inside the line, and then I can release the putter down the target line, still maintaining the club in center, my left arm connected. In gripping the golf club, we don't care if you have a overlapping, interlocking, or 10-fingered or baseball grip. The one thing we found that in the gripping the putter in the left hand, if the left hand is turned to the left and under a little bit, it makes it easier for the putter to travel down the line. That's the only preference we have in gripping the putter. All right, from there, we're going to talk about position to the ball. There again, using these railroad tracks, this is my line of flight, and my feet would be on a track over here. Now we found on a straight putt like this, if I set the putter blade straight to the hole and assume my stance, my hips and shoulders are always on a line parallel left of my target. Now we don't care if you have your left foot pulled back a little bit or if you have your right foot pulled back a little bit. But where we find people run into trouble is when they get the body turned. Now the blade is to the target and my hips and shoulders are on a line to the right of the target. I don't have parallel lines. Or if I get my hips and shoulders too open and the blade to the target, This would be conducive to pushing out to make the putt. This would be conducive to pulling across to make it. So there again, in review, we don't care if the toes are equal, if this is back a little bit, if this is back a little bit, still maintaining hips and shoulders on a line parallel to the left. All right, from there, in the actual putting stroke, we're going to say that the ball position for most good putters, great putters, is from the middle to the left heel. Very few play the ball way back in their stance. All right, I try to feel like that the left arm is connected. Like in the golf stroke, I feel the left arm is connected to my side, and in a practice stroke here, from there with the index finger on the side of the shaft, there's a slight movement of the shoulders, the putter works slightly inside, and the toe of the club is released to the target. Now, I didn't say flip my hands over or roll them, but in most cases, people that block putt, they pull up and across in this manner right here, as versus maintaining the left arm connection and releasing the club, the ball. So from there, with the left arm being connected, there's a slight movement of the shoulders, the putter slightly inside. I don't know about that. There's a slight movement of the putter slightly inside the line, and the toe of the club works down the target line. I'm still maintaining my left arm connection. In other words, when I stop my stroke, if I get it right there, the putter club center, the left arm still tied in. It's not being pulled across the line. The left arm ties in, and with the index finger, we release to the target. Now, we're not advocating that you putt with the index finger. It's very similar to what Jimmy said in chipping. Then you can go to the knuckle, and it would be a feeling of taking the knuckle and pointing to the target. The one thing we don't want is a pull up across or a flip over. We want to maintain the triangle. So from here, we would have the triangle, we still have the triangle, and we still have the triangle out on this side right here with the butt of the club centered. A good example of what we teach in putting is Hubert Green, and I think everybody at one time or another has seen him on TV. He is low in his posture, setting up to the putt. We don't advocate necessarily that, but from there, if you all remember, Hubert splits his hands apart, and with the index finger on the side of the shaft, he putts that way. And can you see how he is releasing the putt? He's not going this way, he's not going that way. He's got his hands split apart, and with the index finger, he is releasing the putt down the line. And he's still maintaining the triangle. It's a little unorthodox, but it's worked pretty good for him down the road. But it's that way. You see how the putter is releasing.
Okay. When we talk about chipping the ball, it's like an underhanded tossing motion. That's the way I like to describe it. But first, I just want to talk a little bit about the triangle and let you understand in the golf swing, in chipping the ball, the triangle here, and as I said earlier when we talked about release, we have to release the triangle. It's a matter of keeping the triangle. So in chipping the ball, the triangle would be, so to say, knee-high to knee-high, but I'm always maintaining the triangle and triangle. That's how the release goes. It never changes. There's no block in chipping the ball. The best way I know how to first describe it to you or show you, though, would be just to take one hand, and if we made a tossing motion, and to do this, I'm going to put my index finger down the shaft first, and with a one-handed tossing motion, like I would just take something back to throw it, do you see how I wouldn't stand still and just move with my arm from the shoulder joint? I wouldn't stand still and cock my wrist to make a tossing motion. A tossing motion, center would move, left foot, left knee would move. It would be ever slightly, but there is always just a little motion. You can't stand flat-footed and toss or pitch. You can't cock your wrist on purpose. There's a flowing, swinging motion. So if I made a tossing motion from here, it would be here, it would be there. It would just be a pitching motion. Notice that I'm pointing right at the target when I do that. So now if I put my left hand on there, that would be the triangle. That shows that the club goes back in a tossing motion, it's released in a tossing motion, there's the triangle. We never want angles in this direction, the same as in big shots. We never want angles in this direction. We might preset angles, which I'll talk to you about in a moment. But we never want to create angles while we're swinging. So now we're saying from the underhanded tossing motion in which the weight would go slightly to the right, slightly to the left, my legs would be pumping just like a tossing motion. I wouldn't be standing flat-footed. Let's now take the triangle here, and again with the index finger down the shaft, just to give you a feel for it at first, there's a little drill. We're relatively wide. I'm obviously not as wide as I would be for a full shot, but still I'm not standing there with my feet close together where I have to twist or move around. I've got my feet wide enough that I can make some little shift to my right and a little shift to the left. And with the index finger down, here's your triangle, so it would simply be triangle, triangle, and the ball would go up. I never try to get up, hit up on the ball to pick it up. We find that most people stand up to hit a golf ball here, and you see them go up, lock, get their feet here, stiff, move, cock the wrist, and try to chip the ball. We believe that there has to be a little motion to offset tension. That motion being here and here. There has to be motion of the body, of the feet, of the legs. You can't stand flat-footed and do it. We got to have a little motion so you don't have tension. So here's your triangle, right foot square, left toe is turned out slightly. On a chip shot, you set a little more open than normal. You're here and here. So with the triangle goes to the right, it goes to the left. Where is it? It's exactly where I started. Now you hear people talk about a high lob. Knock it over the bunker, hit it up in the air with a high lob, a cut shot, whatever you want to call it. People will tell you to do that. I want to hit you high cut and I want to get it up in the air. They'll tell you to lay the blade open and pull across it. If you want to be sure and hit a blade or a chili dip or flub it to right there, that's the best way to do it, because you can do it every time. If you lay the blade open, create the hands way in front, pull the butt of the club, just like we talked about in releasing, you're hitting under and up and you're trying to scoop the ball in the air. From there, you'll hit behind it sometimes. Sometimes you'll catch it on the upswing in this manner and top it or blade it. But that's all you can do. You cannot hit the ball solid. We talk about taking the triangle, setting the club to the bottom of the ball, what we call measuring right to the bottom of the ball. From there, if I never change that triangle, I've created the loft I want on the club, it goes back, it comes right back to the bottom of the ball, and the ball is lifted. I don't scoop it or anything. So what we want to do, remember, is from here, it's triangle, back, triangle, through. Okay? Now, if we're going to cut the ball or hit the high lob, instead of the blade being set square, like this, we're now going to lay the blade open, but in laying the blade open, I still have the triangle. I don't lay the blade open by creating angles. I lay the blade open by just simply turning the club and creating more loft. Now from there, with the blade open, with my index finger down the shaft again to show release, what have I got? I've got the triangle goes away, the triangle goes through. You see how much higher the ball is hit. You bring it back, set it down. I created the loft before I started. I did not do it by taking my arms and creating angles. This is a triangle with a square blade there to the bottom of the ball. I can set it back up, lay the blade open. I still have the triangle here. I still have the triangle there. I've got the short left arm. I bring it back and set it down. It's exactly where I started. Understand one thing. Bad chip shots, whether it's with a 7-iron, you can take the 7-iron, 6-iron, whatever club it is. When you start here, that's your original loft. If you never change that, it's here, it's there, pointing to the target, keeping the triangle, whatever you want to say. What you never want to do in golf, and this is of most importance, is you never try to get under a ball to get it up. That's the surest way to look up every single time. Here the ball is, I'm going to try to get under it. The low point of my arc is behind the ball. I can either hit it fat, I can top it, I can hit it thin. You do everything because you're pulling up out of the shot. You are blocking. You want to set the triangle here, and you want to hit down and through it and release the club to the target every single time. Then you're utilizing the loft that you set on the club. You can preset it, whatever you want to do. Okay, now Jim's going to hit an uphill lie for us here. The ball's more forward, more up to the left heel. But his weight, he's equaling himself out, leveling his hips and leveling his feet, knees, and everything out by getting more of the weight to the left side, but it's equal. He doesn't have all the weight on the left. He just balanced himself up. Okay, Jim? If you notice from that lie, he had to stay back a little because of the bank. It's very hard from there to move right on through or right on into the shot. It's going to be just a little layback in a shot like this. Jim's playing the ball back in his stance to make up for the slope of the bank. So with the ball being back, almost on his right heel. Okay, this is a side heel lie with the ball above your feet. Jim's going to measure to the ball by gripping down on the club slightly, holding the triangle, and he sets to the ball in his legs. He keeps his levels and everything sits down level in his legs, and he just measures to the bottom of the ball. Okay, now let's take a look at bunker shots. On bunker shots, what we want to do is we want to show you how it relates directly to the regular shots. Obviously, your stances are different depending on how the sand is and the texture of the sand, but you always want to set your way in good and get yourself worked down into the sand good and get a good foundation. And then from there, what you want to do, when we first hit one with an open blade, as we said, same as chipping the ball, the blade is just simply laid open here, and we maintain the triangle. But here, instead of hitting the back of the ball, instead of hitting the back of the ball, I'm going to hit the sand about an inch behind it. Now take the triangle away together. These are all played. We're going to play these right now, all with the blade just laid open. In bunker shots, obviously, and chipping the ball or whatever, all we can do is talk about principles. So the principles involved in chipping the ball are very similar to the same principles as sand play. The basic difference is that in chipping the ball, we're measuring to the bottom of the ball here, and just like if I wanted to chip the ball from the sand, you'd measure to the bottom of the ball, the club would go away, you can pick the ball clean from the sand. But in playing sand shots, or blasting the ball out of the sand, and the ball would be plugged or buried down more, instead of measuring to the bottom of the golf ball, we're measuring to a point behind the ball, let's say an inch behind the ball. But the same basics apply here of keeping the triangle, keeping the original position, and of releasing the club to the target. All your angles are preset. You don't create angles while swinging, but the difference is instead of measuring to the bottom of the ball, we're measuring to a point behind it. Now, what we see a lot of times is we see a person walk in, lay the blade open correctly, then they hit the sand behind the ball, but when they hit the sand behind the ball, they're pulling the heel of the club, they're pulling up, and they say, well, I hit sand, I don't know why I missed the ball. But what happens is the low point of the arc hits the ball behind it, but because of the blocked pull position, here they're hitting under and up, and therefore they just blade the ball out of the bunker, and they don't understand why. You have to hit down and through the sand on a bunker shot the same as you do on a chip shot. So here, we release the club. Here's my triangle with an open blade, hitting the point behind the ball. The blade is laid open, but I'm going to keep the triangle. I'll even do this with the index finger down the shaft. The triangle goes here, the triangle goes there. So when I bring it back, there's the triangle with the blade preset open. Now, the other way, if you had a ball buried or plugged here, buried down and plugged real good, the idea would say, okay, now how do you get that out? Well, I can play it with a closed blade, but with the same principle. I'm going to hit the point behind the ball, but I am also going to hit from there with the index finger down. I'm going to release the club down and through it. So the ball is going to come out on a lower trajectory, but I still hit both shots a descending blow. The basic difference, again, is instead of measuring to the bottom of the ball, I measured to the point behind the ball, and then I release the triangle to the target where I start. Also, you might have a shot to where you need to cut the ball more. You may need to loft it real quick, stop it real quick, just a little short shot right on the front of the green. The way to do that would be you'd set more open. All this is things that you'll have to work out and figure. We can't tell you an exact rule for hitting a bunker shot or a chip shot. But if I set open, I lay the blade open here just to hit it up. I set more open, so now the club will go a little more outside when I take it away. But I'm doing that with the triangle. I can pick the club straight up, but I'm doing it with the triangle. Assume there would be a bank here. If I want to get it up, I can take it straight up, but I'm doing it with the triangle. I'm doing it with the center. I'm not going with my arms or with just my hands. So from here, I can pick it up outside the line with center. I can put it through. I can hit the soft shot. But always, wherever you start, you maintain that position. You can preset angles this way. You can pick it up quick with center, but we never want you to do it with just your hands or just your arms. We don't want any form of manipulation. Okay? Remember, golf is not complicated. It's very simple if you'll let it be that way.